I want to talk about how to change your mind this time out. And obviously, not just how to change an opinion or how to reverse a decision or something like that, but how to actually change the way that we perceive things, the way that we respond to things, the way that we act and behave in the world by changing our mind. And this is kind of what I've been doing the last 11, 12 months, something like that. And started by accident initially. And then after I started seeing some really cool changes in my life, I got more intentional about it and more deliberate and started learning things and reading things and all of that. Uh, when I started seeing changes, when I would tell people, oh, I'm off blood pressure medicine that I was on for over a decade, or, I've started to lose weight, folks would inevitably ask, oh, what have you been doing? And I think they expected to hear something along the lines of, oh, I've become a Whole Foods vegan, or I joined the gym, or I'm walking 3 miles a day, or I've started eating keto, or, something along those lines. But I would have to just honestly reply, all I did was change my mind. Because at that time, that was the truth. That was really all that I was doing. And any sorts of physical habits or changes in my routine that had come along were as a result of the kind of the internal work that I was doing. Um, Early on, one of the things, and what I want to talk about tonight, is meditation. One of the things I started doing pretty early on was establishing a daily meditation practice. And again, it was by accident. I'm almost embarrassed to tell that story, but I will tell it really quick. And also, I'm going to link. Let me see if I can go ahead and post the link in the comments to a blog post that I did about this subject, which tells the story as well. But want to tell a little bit about my personal journey with this. Give you kind of some the quick and dirty guide if you've ever thought about starting a meditation practice but sort of didn't know how to start or whatever, or maybe concerned about the time that it's going to take or the effort it's going to take. I'll give you the quick and dirty 10-minute a day drill on this. And if you devote that 10 minutes a day to doing what I suggest, then you will definitely see changes in your life. Um, so I stumbled on this, and what had happened was it was another book that I'd gotten 15 years ago and never read called Wheels of Light. And I was reading it just kind of out of boredom. I'd run through some of the other books that I had and just was sort of drawn to this one. And it describes the chakra system, which is an ancient way of looking at the energy centers in the body. And this is a little bit out there for me. My wife was studying to be a yoga instructor at the time, and they were also studying the chakras, so I was somewhat familiar and gave it some credence, but I was also sort of skeptical. But was reading this kind of just because it was interesting and I was curious. And it started describing this set of symptoms that was related to what they call a block at the second chakra, the sacral chakra. And it might as well have been describing my daily life. It was stuff like heartburn and joint pain and inflammation, all over, and anger and things like that, that were just like I was really struggling with a lot of this stuff. And so even though I was a little bit skeptical, I also thought, maybe if I could figure out how to clear this blockage, how I could get that energy moving somehow, that maybe it would help me. And it was just that notion was all it was. But first of all, was a little skeptical. And second of all, I didn't have a clue of what to do. I mean, there are things that I would maybe know now that would help, Reiki and some things like that, maybe even chiropractic care. But at the time, I was just like, I didn't know what to do and was sort of skeptical anyway, so I just let it be. But then as things sometimes happen in situations like this, coincidentally, I ran across an audio program from BrainSync, which was a group that I was familiar with, again from years ago, that was supposed to help get energy moving through the chakras. And so I looked at that, was just one of those coincidental things. I don't even know how I stumbled on that, but it was like, huh, that's interesting. And it was like $9 or $10. And I thought, for $9 or $10, I think I can get this MP3, and all you had to do was listen. You didn't have to, wasn't a big investment of time or effort or, learning things or whatever either. It was just download the MP3 and listen to the instructions and then listen to it. So it was that simple, and I started, and I didn't have huge expectations and didn't know if it would be of any help to me at all, but it was like, $10, half an hour of my time, sure, I'll see. And at the end of that first time with that audio, it wasn't like, oh, wow, this is changing my life. It felt really good was the thing. I felt really relaxed and it felt good. And so I kept doing it. I thought, well, I'll do this every day. So at the end of the work day, I'd go sit in a comfy chair with a cup of tea and put on this audio and spend a half an hour relaxing with it instead of, shaking a martini or something. It was as simple as that. And before long, I started looking for other opportunities to do this and other audio programs that they had. I had no idea why this was doing anything, but I just knew it felt good. And then it was like, holy cow, my blood pressure is lower. What's going on here? And I hadn't made, to my knowledge, really any other significant changes at the time. So that's how I got started. It was as simple as that. I had tried to meditate when I was younger, kind of for all the wrong reasons. I wanted to be Buddha, or I wanted to be Obi-Wan Kenobi or something like that, and started a meditation practice. And I had no clue, no teacher. I was reading things, but they probably were the wrong things for me at that time. It just wasn't the right time. And I wasn't seeing anything change in my life, wasn't seeing any progress, wasn't feeling any different. And so I was obsessed with, am I doing this right? Am I sitting right? Should I be sitting cross-legged? How should I be holding my hands? Am I saying the mantra right? Your mind's supposed to be empty, but I'm thinking about things. My thoughts are drifting. Oh no, I'm thinking about the fact that my thoughts are drifting. I mean, it was all of this judgment and garbage. And so I didn't get anywhere with it, and didn't seek any guidance from anybody that knew what they were doing, and so I gave up on it. This time what was different for me was that I had really no expectations. It was just, maybe I'll listen to this tape and it'll help me. And so that's how it started. So how can something as simple as that change stuff that's going on physically with you and all of that? There's been all kinds of research in this, and I just would like to give a quick list of we think of meditation as like a spiritual practice, but it really is also a wellness practice. And here are some of the benefits that have been documented with meditation. It reduces cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It reduces cytokines, which are inflammatory chemicals in your body. It increases oxytocin, which is the love hormone, the cuddle hormone. People who meditate sleep better. They have less anxiety. They have reduced inflammation and pain, lower blood pressure. It balances the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic side. So the sympathetic side of that is fight or flight, which we're, in our society, just all of us are bound up in all the time. We're full of stress, and our body is preparing us physically to move, like there's a threat jumping out of the trees at us. The problem is the threat never goes away, and we don't get to run and get that out of our system. And so we're stuck in this constant, just stressed sort of experience all the time. Meditation gets you out of that. Meditation helps to balance the system so you can get over to the parasympathetic side, which is the rest and relaxation side, where your body can start to heal. Even if you're not doing anything else different, your body will start to heal once you start meditating. It stimulates the pituitary gland. It brings more electrical activity into the areas of the brain that are related to positive thinking and optimism. So merely by meditating every day, you can become more optimistic. Uh, Folks report increased intuition, insight, self-awareness, improved self-esteem, more creativity, better focus and attention span for people who are busy. And this was certainly the case for me. I was at a height of busyness at work last summer when I started this practice. And I was like, I don't know if I have time, to meditate today. On the days that I went ahead and did it anyway, I made up the time. I think it was because of better focus. Uh, and on the days that I didn't meditate, it was just murder. It was just horrible. So you actually, if you think you don't have time to do this, it's the time that you really need to do it. Better memory. Increased compassion for others is a benefit that has been documented from meditation. And compulsions, bad habits, addictions, those sorts of things tend to go away when people start meditating. In fact, it's hard to have a daily meditation practice and also carry an addiction. Here's the thing that I learned this time, because I went into it without a lot of expectations and without any judgment of myself. I was just sitting and listening to the audio. What was different, and what I learned was that there's no way to do this wrong as long as you do it. As long as you do it every day, and set aside 10 minutes a day to start, you can't do it wrong, and so you shouldn't judge yourself. And that made all the difference this time. And it was easy. It was easy to do this, and it did just feel good. And it really had some huge benefits in my life. So here's the quick and dirty sort of how to begin meditating. And again, this is on the weblog post. And obviously, by my story, that should tell you that it's an easy thing to do. Even somebody without any knowledge or instruction can benefit. And you don't have to even be very intentional about it. You just have to do it every day. So the first thing is set aside time every day to practice. 10 or 15 minutes for starters is plenty. You can eventually work up, and you may find yourself wanting to do it more and doing multiple sessions during the day, and that's fine. But you don't have to. Even down the line, lots of daily meditators will say 20 minutes a day is plenty. So 10 or 15 to start is fine. The idea is to get your body relaxed and your brain waves slowed down. And that's all. You don't have to empty your mind. You don't have to, be focused on the void. You don't have to be seeking any kind of huge spiritual thing. It's just getting yourself relaxed and slowing down your brain waves almost to the point of sleep, but not quite. And that's key. So when we're walking around most of the time awake in life, our brain waves are in what is called the beta range. And with meditation, we're slowing those down. And we know this because they've done EKG studies and that kind of thing on people and on people who meditate. We're going to slow down to the alpha range, and then hopefully down into a range called theta, which is just before you get to the delta stage, which is where you fall asleep. So it's just very relaxed, very slow, very calm is what we're aiming for. And a lot of the ways to do that is just by focusing on the breath and that sort of thing. And there's some suggestions like that in the blog post as well. But what's really cool is these audio programs. What they found out how to do is, and it's called entrainment, is to get your brain to sync up to the audio signal. And there are two ways to do this. One is to just, if you're trying to get the brain to 7 hertz, which is in the theta range of brain waves, is just to play a tone of 7 hertz along with some music or nature sounds or something like that, and your brain kind of naturally follows along. BrainSync does something that I think is even cooler and almost magical, and that is a technology called binaural beats. There's one stereo signal, one of the signals that's like, let's say, at 200 hertz, and the other is at 207 hertz. at the same time. And your brain actually creates this third signal that doesn't exist on the audio track of the 7 hertz, which is the target range you want. So by listening to this, it it brings your brain into or draws it towards that brainwave state. And so all you have to do is sit quietly, breathe softly, and listen to this audio, and it will get you there. And if you do it every day, 10 or 15 minutes, that is plenty enough. I would start. They've got all kinds of stuff at BrainSync, and there are other companies that have the same kind of technology too. They've got guided meditations, all kinds of things like that. I would start with one called Grace and Gratitude, or let me take a look at what the other one is called, Exalted Meditation, and there are links to those on the weblog. Also, if you don't want to shell out $10 for these, they do have a YouTube channel that's also linked there, where all of this stuff is available to listen to for free. So you could start there if you wanted to, and see if it helps you. You don't have to say a mantra or do any kind of special breathing, or get a prayer beads or anything like that to get started. Sometimes I do use a mantra and a mala as well, but it's not necessary. Really just sitting quietly, being conscious of your breath. And when your mind starts to wander away, just be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't go, oh, I'm doing it wrong. Just kind of try and think, okay, there's a thought, let it go, and concentrate on the sensation of your breath coming in and going out. Just kind of monitor that and be with that breath. And that's really all it takes, honest to gosh. 10, 15 minutes a day, but do it every day. Especially do it when you're not feeling like it, when you're feeling very stressed and don't have time and all of that. And if you do that in very short order, within days or weeks at the very most, you'll start to see some amazing changes in your life and in your physical well-being, in your attitudes toward other people, and your attitudes toward yourself. It's just so many good things that meditation will do for you. I appreciate you checking in here for this. I hope it's helpful. Take a look at the blog post, because I'm sure it's a lot more coherent than my ramblings are here this evening. But and if you've got questions or run into any issues if you start this, then please reach out. Let me know. I'd be happy to have a chat with you about it. And to be continued. I think next time we'll talk about gratitude and going on a mental diet, which is something else that I started fairly early on that has really made a difference in my life. Hope you guys have a beautiful evening. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next time.